Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name's Karishma and I own a small business called Soleilbykarishma, which I just opened this year, making handmade resin pieces such as coasters, decorative trays, key rings, bookmarks. So in today's tutorial we are making some resin coasters with these beautiful purple bluey flowers. So let's get on with the video. Things first, obviously we need the resin. So I use the brand Craft Resin. I use that because it's heat resistant and UV resistant and it's super shiny. So with this brand of resin, it's a 1-to-1 ratio, meaning that I need to put equal amounts of the resin and the hardener. Once I've weighed out my equal amounts of resin and hardener, I just slowly mix it with this spatula that comes with the Craft Resin box. So if you've ever worked with resin before, you'll know that our biggest nightmare is bubbles. And bubbles form in resin when the resin is too cold or when you mix the resin too fast. So I always leave my resin somewhere where it's warm, which minimises the bubbles, and I also make sure that I stir my resin and hardener quite slowly so to avoid excess bubbles. So yeah, that's just me mixing the resin and the hardener. You can see when I first started mixing it was very cloudy, which is completely normal. So you just mix it until it goes clear. And also you can't see any streaks in the resin. That's when you know that the resin and the hardener has completely mixed together. So yeah, I'm just going to go straight into pouring my resin into the molds. Once I've done that, I just use my heat gun. I will leave the link for the heat gun in the description box below. It's just from Amazon. So yeah, I just go over all my coasters with the heat gun, which will just help to pop all the bubbles that are in the resin. And then I also do take a toothpick, a little wooden toothpick, and I just go around the edges of the coaster because you can get some little bubbles around the edges of the coaster. So after that, I've already prepared all my flowers and the design that I want to do, so I've just put them around my bench. So I'm just going to pop them into the resin now. And then after that, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to press the flowers down so that all the air underneath the flowers has come up. Otherwise, if you just leave them floating on the top, there could be huge bubbles underneath. And it just won't look pretty. So you just got to make sure that you push the flowers right to the bottom without damaging the mold, of course. Don't like scratch the mold or anything, because that will stay on your mold forever and you'll have to buy a new mold and it's really annoying. So yeah, just push all the flowers gently down to make sure all the resin underneath the flower is just coming up and over the flower, so that any air bubbles and pockets underneath will be popped basically. And you do want to do this carefully as well, because you don't want to rip the flowers. For example, these big round ones that I'm using now are really delicate. So yeah, you want to be really careful. once I've popped all the bubbles on the top, once I put the flowers in and use my toothpick again, I will leave these to cure for 24 hours. So I'm back after 24 hours. So this step is actually really simple because the flowers are already encased in the resin, so they're not going to move around, which can be a bit annoying sometimes. So I'm literally just going to mix the resin hardener the same as I did before, equal quantities of each, and then I'm just going to stir it really slowly, pop it into another cup and just make sure all the streaks are gone. And then I'm just going to pour it straight into the mold on top of the flowers. And now after 24 hours, the bottom layer with the flowers will be cured. So after I've popped all the bubbles and got all the bubbles from around the edge, I will just leave these again for 24 hours to cure. So again, I'm just going to put an Amazon box on top of them just to make sure no dust gets into my resin coasters. One note I will say is, if you do live in a cold country, which I do, and it is winter at the moment, you do want to make sure that your room is quite warm, otherwise the resin won't cure. Okay, so it has been 24 hours, so I'm just going to show you me demolding the coasters. So they should be hard now and ready to demold. If they are sticky or they're not coming out of your mold, you may have not mixed the resin and hardener correctly. So that's why it's just so important to mix it thoroughly at the beginning, just so that they come out perfect in the end. Okay, so I am going to paint the edges on the coasters now. So I do use this gold paint, which is not showing up very clearly on the camera, but I will put a link to it in the description below. It's from Amazon, and I think that this colour is the best that I've found so far. It's more of a muted gold. It's not so shiny. It's like an antique gold, I'd say, which is the colour I was going for. Yes, and I'm just going to use this thin brush. It's just any thin brush that you can find. Yeah, so I'm just going to paint the edges on now. This will need a couple of coats because the paint is quite thin. But yeah, I think that the outcome of this paint is so pretty, the colour is so nice. So I'm just going to leave a time lapse of me painting the coasters now. So after I have painted the coasters and let them dry slightly, I am going to go in with a cotton bud and some nail varnish remover just to clean all the edges where I may have got paint on the coasters, which I'm showing you in the video, because I am a bit of a messy painter, so I have got it on the coasters and the edges are not the neatest. So I just go around with a little cotton bud and some nail varnish remover and the paint comes off perfectly. So after I've cleaned them off and all my edges are done and they've dried, I do actually put a sealant layer on top of the gold just to make sure that it doesn't scratch off, because I do find that if I don't seal this paint it does scratch off easily, and I want my coasters to be able to be cleaned without all the gold coming off. So I do just use a sealant around that, which I haven't recorded but I've done it off camera. And then this is the final result of the coasters with the dried flowers. They're super pretty, super shiny, which is why I love craft resin. Yeah, and I will put a video up of how I dried my flowers. If you're interested in knowing how I dried my flowers, then put it in the description below. And thank you for watching and please subscribe. Bye.